It's Thursday, October 2nd, about 2 p.m. Central Standard Time in Houston. XRP's floating around $3.07. We've come up a little bit, I guess. We're still going to continue to range. We don't have the first ETF deadline decisions till the middle of this month, I think. But then they have those new generic standards where the SEC is asking everybody to drop the original filings and go with this. I don't know what the companies are going to decide on their own. But we also have that government shutdown, so we'll see. We'll see what happens over the next 2 weeks. In the meantime, holding pattern, maybe a little more time as an opportunity to buy in, to take advantage of this bull run. So we'll see. In the meantime, I want to turn your focus over here to what's going on with the Clarity Act. We just had the Stablecoin Act. And the Stablecoin Act pretty much allowed people to create dividends and yield for, not dividends, but yield for stablecoins, sort of like what you get with your savings accounts or CDs over at the bank, right? Well, banks want to be the only ones to be able to do that. And they don't want to compete with these guys. So they want to relitigate it in the Clarity Act. So that's going to be part of the back and forth that you're going to see. Banks are losing their grip a little bit, but let's listen to what Brian Armstrong here from, I think he's from Coinbase, has to say. But before that, so this in from Bank XRP, clear crypto rules are unstoppable, but big banks want another handout. This time by killing your USDC rewards under the Genius Act. They're pushing to ban rewards to protect their monopoly. We're fighting to ensure the Senate puts American consumers first. And this is the CEO of Coinbase, Brian Armstrong. I get him confused with the guy from USDC so often because they're both bald. They look similar. But nonetheless, this is Brian Armstrong over here. Jeremy Allaire is the CEO over at Circle, which runs USDC. But nonetheless, what the banks don't want is they don't want anybody else offering any kind of yield, any kind of rewards, any kind of interest on stable coins, which are equal to $1. So basically, you can take your dollar to the bank, they'll give you a yield, and they'll give you a competitive, as they like to say, put it, yield within a quarter of a point of other banks, and you really get nothing. And in the meantime, they turn around, they lend your money out, they make a killing, right? If it's a commercial loan, they're maybe making 9 to 15, somewhere between 9 and 15%, depending on the risk that's being taken in. But it's all usually they tend to be secured, a lot of those commercial loans. But they make that money off of your money, but only give you that pittance. Whereas you get a chance to do a little better than that with some of these other companies. And so there's an image that I conjure in my mind when I see something like this. And I'm going to show it to you before we go take a look at what Brian has to say on his own. See, I confuse him all the time. And here's that image. It's a little bit comical, but we all know the Roadrunner, right? That's a cartoon, and that's the coyote, Wile E. Coyote, I think is his name. And this is pretty much what we're facing. Stable coins are a little bit faster. They've got some benefits to them, but they're going to get you a little better return in some cases, depending on where you have them. And the big banks want to maintain the monopoly. They want the old system, the system that's been around forever, that hasn't made anybody wealthy. And in fact, I think the system with the banks have made you go broke safely. Cost of living has exceeded the interest that we've earned on our savings for decades. I mean, we barely got over 4% not that long ago. For better than 10 years, we were at like 1%, maybe less, actually less in many places. So people would have their money in savings or CDs, and I want to say, prior to 2020, I think that whole 10 years prior to 2020, people were earning maybe 1%, maybe less. And even before that, it wasn't that much more. So what was happening is you were going broke safely because the cost of living was going up 3.5% to 4.5% every year. Well, you were losing almost 4%, depending on where you live in the country. So that was going broke safely, and banks loved that because they turned around and made a lot more money on your money in those years. And they still do today, right? Because interest rates are higher, they can charge more as well and try to pay you less. But they don't want these stablecoin companies or these exchanges or these other places being able to give consumers more choices and better rewards, because then they've got to compete, right? And as we know, most banks are still brick and mortar, and these other companies, well, they're all online. So that's kind of what's going on. Those are the mental gymnastics that are going on with this Clarity Act right now. But let's hear it from Brian Armstrong's words, from his own words. And my God, I'm tongue twisted today. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and bookmark. We'll see you on the next one. Till next time, adios
You probably
amigos.
all know that we got the Genius Act already passed into law for stablecoins, which is great. The next step is we've got to get market structure passed. And I've actually never been more bullish on this getting through. We've already seen strong bipartisan support in the House. Now it's being deliberated in the Senate. This has not stopped the banks from coming in and trying to relitigate issues that were already settled in the Genius Act. In particular, they're trying to ban rewards on stablecoins, even though this is already settled into law. And we're making sure that the Senate knows that bailing out the big banks, which are having record profit margins at the expense of the American consumer, is not going to fly. That would be a foolish thing to do politically, because there's 50 million Americans like you who have now used crypto, and they want to make sure that they can actually earn more money with their money. Who'd have thought? So visit standwithcrypto.org if you want to help and support. We'd love your help in contacting senators and congresspeople to make sure we get market structure passed and preserve rewards on stablecoins. Thanks.